everyone, today I'm going to show you basically how to make meatballs from scratch, and it'll be less than roughly 30 minutes. So what you're going to need is, first of all, you're going to preheat your oven to 350, and then what you're going to do in the meantime, you're going to have your ground beef, and you're going to have it so that it's thawed out. I usually thaw it out in like hot water before I can manage it better. And then what you're going to need is roughly going to need Worcester sauce, ground ginger, an egg which rolled somewhere down here, black pepper, parsley, flour, which is probably upside down to you, and then you're going to need cornstarch. You can also use breadcrumbs, but you can always change up whatever flours work for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my ground beef together. Usually when I store it in the freezer, I wrap it in aluminum foil, so then it's very easy to remove it from it when it thaws out. So voila. And then I'm going to get my dry ingredients together. So the reason why it's flour already in there is because I ended up just making some previously, and I decided since I had extra meat, I might as well show everyone. So I'm going to pause because my dog just opened my front door, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to also need a Ziploc bag. That's what my dry goods are going to go in. And what you're going to do is put your flours together, or whatever dry goods you decide to use. So I'm going to put half of a cup of white flour, which might be a little hard to see. And then what I'm going to put next is a quarter of a cup of cornstarch, a quarter of a cup of panko or breadcrumbs. Alright, so I mixed my flours together really well in the bag, and then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to mix your liquids separately. So I used about a quarter of a cup of milk. You can use, there's plenty of different types, but it's all again with preference. And then you're going to get yourself an egg. You're going to open or crack the egg open into the milk, mix the milk with, mix the two together, and then you're going to add that to your meat. So I'm going to pause. Alright, I'm back. So after I mix the egg and milk, then I add it to my meat. And then the next thing I want to do now is I'm going to add my spices. So I mentioned the Worcester, so this time I'm using Burman's. Doesn't really matter, just a preference. And I'm going to use a quarter of a teaspoon roughly of that. Actually no, I'm going to use more, closer probably to half. And then I'm going to add a quarter of a teaspoon of my black pepper. I'm going to add a quarter of a teaspoon of my parsley, and then roughly about 3 dashes or so of your ground ginger. And again, I'm using mostly McCormick and Simple Nature, because those are a lot of the brands that I like to use. But it shouldn't really vary too much from what brand that you decide to go with. So I'll be right back after I add those ingredients. Alright, so after I added a quarter of the black pepper, half of a teaspoon, a quarter of a teaspoon of the black pepper, a quarter of a teaspoon, no, not a quarter, sorry, half of a teaspoon of the Worcester sauce, half of your parsley for a teaspoon, and 3 dashes of ginger. Then you're going to mix it all together, and then you're going to add also your flour mix. So that was half of a cup of regular flour or all-purpose, and I use a quarter of a cup of cornstarch and a quarter of breadcrumbs. And then after it's all mixed well together, you can mix it with a spoon, or if you have gloves, if you're making it for other people, then it would be preferably to use gloves. But if it's just with your family or yourself, you can just use a big spoon to mix it together, or just your hands. I'll be right back after I pause it. Alright, so after I mixed it, this is the texture that you'll get, if you can see that. It's kind of like a tacky type of texture, see? Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add just enough flour back to the mix again, just to make it so that you're going to be able to form it into balls, just like you do with like cookies or whatnot. And then after you get them all formed, then you're going to put it into hot oil that you have on top of your stove at around medium to low, and then you're going to cook it on each side about 3 to 5 minutes. And when it's a light brown, then when you finish like turning it throughout that process, it'll be should be brown on all the sides of the meatball. And then what I usually do, just to be on the safe side because you don't want to get sick, I put it inside the oven at 350 for an extra 10 minutes. And then it usually should be done by then. If you want to, you can always get a meat thermometer and you can check just to make sure that the internal temperature is. But once you do this for a while, then you just kind of are able to eyeball things and be able to know things just from, you know, second nature. So that's basically it. I'll pause it and show you each of the steps, how it looks throughout it, and then that'll be it. I hope that you'll enjoy it. It's just as much as me and my family do. Okay, be back in 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So now this is what your meatballs roughly look like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into the grease, or not grease, but your oil. And when it's done being turned roughly, it's going to be brown on all of the sides, and it'll look like this. So when I finish with this batch, then I'll show you guys after I put it in the oven what it turns out, and that's it. I hope that you guys will enjoy this, and that by me making videos kind of in this type of fashion, that you'll enjoy it better, and that you'll be able to find a new dish that you enjoy. Take care, and if you like this, hit like, and if you want to, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. Take care. Bye. Just in case anyone wanted to see the process about the cooking for the meatballs actual part, I'm going to add this part, but I'll probably maybe make it as a separate clip just in case anyone who doesn't care for ASMR, you don't have to see this, but if you do, then enjoy. And you can use basically a wooden spoon, but right now, just to save time, I'm just using a teaspoon because it goes a little faster for me. And like I mentioned earlier, or it might be a separate video, I don't know yet how I'm going to do this, but basically you want to flip them about after a minute or so, but overall it's going to be about 3 minutes or so of them frying. Oh, and the other thing is you can always add, if you like more spices, more herbs. You can also add fresh vegetables like bell peppers or onions, but since my dog actually likes these too, I try not to put onions in my food because they're not, onions is not good for dogs. It can actually hurt them really bad with their red blood cells rupturing. So you're basically just going to keep flipping them so each side is going to be cooked thoroughly. Try to put a little bit more light. I don't know if that'll help. You want to make sure you get every side, even though that's why I also like to put it inside the oven just in case there's one side that I don't get. And one thing too is I like to add cornstarch because it keeps your meatballs from falling apart, as well as the egg. And some people can make theirs harder, some can make it soft, but as long as it's cooked thoroughly, you'll be fine. But even though it looks sometimes darker brown, it should, if you do things the way I'm mentioning it, it should end up still coming out pretty soft. See, not too hard, and it doesn't take too long for it to actually cook. Let's see with some of these. I'm going to take them off soon, like that one. And that's about right, like I said, about 3 minutes or so. But then, you know, it all depends on your stove top and your climate. So your altitude will also play a role, especially when it goes inside the oven. So you might have to cook it a little longer, or you might want to cook it a little less, but as long as it's not pink anymore and it turns like a light brown, it should be fine. Now these I'm going to scoop out and put with my other ones that I already had done before I recorded. I decided, since I had extra meat left over, that you don't want to refreeze your meat once it's thoroughly thawed out. And like I said, once it's all off the stove top and it's no more pink, technically it could be ate then, but I like to cook my food really thorough, so I'm going to put it in the oven at 350 for about 10 minutes, give or take. And then, whoops, and then I'm going to serve it for dinner. So you can do quite a bit of different things with meatballs. You can have meatball subs, as in sandwiches. You can also have meatballs and spaghetti, which is what I'm doing tonight. You can also just have meatballs by themselves. Like I said, it's several different things. And cooking's an art, just like music. So it doesn't hurt to be creative, long as you have an idea of a recipe in mind. Because everyone has different taste preferences. So just see what works and what doesn't work. Just make note not to do it again. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit like. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want more notifications, hit the bell. And if you would like, comment down below. Take care. Bye.